Good thoughts.
Have you traveled with him? Overseas? You were, I have a farm. It's good to go without something. It's really tough here, so taking out the government.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2016. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Johnson, Figueroa Villa, and Saltzman are present, and we have a quorum. Number 1 on the agenda, consent agenda items.
Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to share some thoughts of the events of the past week. Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Sergeant Michael Smith, Senior Corporal Lorne Aarons, Officer Michael Kroll, Officer Patrick Zamarripa, Officer Brent Thompson. They're all gone. Their lives ended.
Wilson.
Riddell, you won't say the names of the people in LA. Can you do that too? That was really
So we are going to stick with the rules today. I know there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of pain. We will not interrupt our speakers when they submit cards. And we expect that when we're speaking on this dais that we will not be interrupted. If we are interrupted, you'll be warned. And if you continue to interrupt, you'll be asked to leave. I prefer not to have to do that. But this board expects the same respect that we will give everybody here. If you have a comment to make, you can submit a card. Everyone that submits a card will be given 2 minutes to express their feelings, their thoughts. You're interrupting the meeting, sir. If you don't stop interrupting the meeting, this is your first warning. If you interrupt again, you're going to be asked to leave. You are, I have no problem saying Riddell Jones's name. I have no problem saying Riddell Jones's name. As many of you know, if you've read the paper today, as is on the agenda, we will be evaluating that use of force incident after today's meeting in closed session. We will be looking at all of the facts and evidence that we're presented with. We will be looking at the officers' training, their experience, and we will be weighing everything very carefully and thoughtfully as we always do.
What about fairly?
And we will come to a conclusion, hopefully, which will be reported after closed session, which you are all invited to attend. No, not closed session, but when we report on what happened in closed session afterwards. So with that, I'm going to go back to reading my statement. I'm going to start again because I think this is important. And as I said, actually, before I go back to reading my statement, maybe Mr. T. Fenk, it would be a good idea. We have a lot of new people here today to remind everybody of what our rules are. So we're crystal clear on how our meetings are conducted.
Yes, Mr. President, you covered a lot of them, but I'll go over them again. Anyone can submit a speaker card on any agenda item, whether that is a consent agenda item, a regular agenda item, or under general public comment. Speaker cards are turned into one of the uniform officers who will turn them into our board secretary. Ms. Silva will call the speaker cards for that particular item as they are received. The speaker will have 2 minutes to speak at the podium. Any disruption from the audience is not tolerated. It's not part of the rules. If you're disruptive in the audience, as the president indicated, he'll give you one warning. At the end of if there is another disruption, he'll give you a second warning, and then you'll be asked to leave the room. Should you refuse to leave the room, you are subject to arrest for failure to comply with the lawful orders of a police officer. The intent of the commission is to continue the meeting, give everyone from the public an opportunity to speak on the agenda items that they wish to speak on. If the room becomes disruptive and the Board of Police Commissioners cannot conduct their business, they have the authority under the Brown Act to clear the room and then to resume the meeting once they take a vote without the public present, with only the media present, and can only consider the items that are on the agenda. Again, that is not something that the Board of Police Commissioners wants to do, but they do have that authority under the Ralph M. Brown Act and also their board rules. Speaker cards generally should be submitted before general comment starts on an item. I would encourage you now, if you have a desire to speak on any item on the agenda, please get a speaker card, fill it out at your earliest moment, and turn it in. If you wait to the last moment, you might be too late. So please do that early so we can accommodate everyone that speaks. And I believe, Mr. President, that covers the rules.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Again, I'd like to share some thoughts on the events of the past week. And I'm going to say their names again because we should not forget their names. Alton Sterling. Philando Castile. Sergeant Michael Smith. Senior Corporal Lauren Aarons. Officer Michael Kroll. Officer Patrick Zamarripa. Officer Brent Thompson. They're all gone. Their lives ended. None for any good reason that any of us can discern. Officers giving their lives to protect the First Amendment rights of demonstrators expressing outrage at the actions of police. A father of 5, killed while pinned to the ground after selling CDs outside of a convenience store, trying to support his family. A man killed during a traffic stop in front of his child and fiancée. The immediate aftermath broadcast for the world to see. Their names will forever be touchstones in the national conversation we are having about race and policing, about how and when police officers use deadly force, about why it is so important to support and not caricature the men and women who risk their lives every single day to protect our families and preserve our democracy. And whether we will finally find the courage to stop shouting at and talking past one another and move forward together to put all our efforts into ending senseless violence in our communities, no matter where it comes from. Because whether we're talking about Baton Rouge, Falcon Heights, Dallas, or right here in Los Angeles, the actions of a few have caused so much pain and anger in communities across America. These tragedies have shocked all of us. My heart hurts for all the families and friends of all of these victims. Over this past weekend, there were more demonstrations and protests throughout our country, some peaceful, some not. The many marches and protests in our city were peaceful, and I want to express my appreciation to those who demonstrated and protested in a peaceful and lawful manner, and to the officers who helped assure that they had a safe place in which to express themselves. That is the American way, in a system governed by a rule of law, and the right to protest is one of our inalienable rights. As president of the Police Commission, these recent events further underscore the urgency of the work we are doing here. Good intentions are not enough. It is my hope that meaningful dialogue can occur with all of our communities so we can continue to improve the relationship between our police officers and our residents. This will only occur if we build mutual trust and respect. we must begin a dialogue of meaningful discussions in which we respect each other and our individual points of view. We all have to be willing to listen to others, even if we don't like what they have to say. It's my hope, which I will hold on to as long as I sit in this chair, that we can do this for our city and for our country, and to help restore some of the humanity that's lost each time a life is taken needlessly. Thank you. Any of my fellow commissioners have anything they would like to say this morning?
Okay, thank you. We're now on item number 1, consent agenda items. And for the record, there is a correction on the agenda for item 1M and 1N. The recommendation should read, receive the department's report and transmit to the mayor and city council for acceptance. We do have comment card on A, B, C, D, H, L, and X.
A, B,
I move approval of items 1E, F, G, I, J, K, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, and W.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
The comment card for 1A is Mr. Herman.
Mr. President, if I may, also one item I did not cover on the rules is a speaker must speak to the item that is specifically on the agenda. Under general public comment, any public comment can be made specific to within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. But on the consent items, you must speak to the item that is on the agenda, and your comments must be germane to that.
Okay, and this is relative to the donation of $50 from Valley Traffic Advisory Council.
Morning, y'all. Specifically, we'll stay on topic per consent calendar agenda items, Mr. T. Fank. As you heard for the record, the Dark Knight is here to report June 29th, 2016, to a monetary donation for $50. And despite your lack of attention span to pay attention and focus on the speakers, it is from the Valley Traffic Advisory Council, as Batman stays on topic, Mr. T. Fank. And while I'm on topic of conversation for council, to reimburse Sergeant Jimmy Chong, or Chang Jimmy Chong, from the Valley Traffic Division, I, Batman, agree. Always refund our officers who lack the provisions and adequacy to be funded appropriately in a timely manner, because our traffic division do a great job, as much as our rank and file, who Eric Garcetti hasn't given them a raise. But simply to say that child passenger safety is a very important recommendation. We know that racial profiling creates a scare to our children when they're pulled over by officers on a simply small traffic incident or a ticket for maybe a broken headlight, as incidents have been occurring throughout the nation. And so stemming forward for this certification, training, and the fee, I agree with this motion. As to all you who may know me as the Dark Knight, I pass this motion, and upon the taxpayers' funding, reimburse the gentleman. Thank you.
Mr. Herman, I believe you're still up. Do you have a comment on item 1B, or do you wish to waive it?
This is relative to the donation of $500 from the Los Angeles Police Foundation.
Since you insist, Mr. Johnson, who lacks an attention span for the public, I'd like to address the issue on the department's report, June 27, 2016. Mr. City Attorney, would you please correct me? I'm on topic. Thank you, sir, for your comment. Relative to the domination or donation of a domination of food valued for $600. Well, isn't that great? Our sworn officers deserve every meal ticket they can get based on their income. A salary so low that our rank and file deserve banquet parties for donations. The Los Angeles Police Foundation, for the benefit of Counterterrorism and Special Operations Bureau. Now in question, Mr. Johnson, I believe. You talk about terrorism and special operation bureaus. I talk about one called Threat Management Unit, which the public is unaware of, and the media will soon find out on the incidents of the misappropriate use under the color of the badge to use terrorism to threaten public censorship in meetings, and then to charge an investigation in the authority of the Los Angeles Police Department.
Mr. President, the speaker's off topic. It's about the donation.
So as I redirect this donation, I satisfy the amount, Mr. Tefang. Thank you so much for paying attention, and I wish that the city attorney will cure and correct any issues of value on this problem, and pay up, pay up, pay up, Chief Charlie Beck. Choo choo.
Mr. Herman, do you have a comment on item 1C?
This is relative to the donation of $540 from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Now that I have everyone's attention, other than the two missing commissioners, sorry you're not here, Mr. Sobroff. Sorry you're not here, Miss Kim. But the department has a report dated June 24th, 2016, relative to the monetary donation in the amount of $5,400. No, I'm sorry. Correct me. $540. We don't want to expand on taking money from the public. But from the interest of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I suspect give donations to the police department, and for the record, I hope that's accounted for. We have a committee called the Ethics Committee in Los Angeles. So any donation given to the Dodgers, for the Dodgers to give back to the LAPD, and in turn the LAPD use it for their special operations for Dodgers LLC to be utilized for food and recreational activities. Now, investigations is a part of the activities. Such activities and events come down to a detective's communication for division cadet programs. Teach all the cadets how effective the detectives and our unfortunate, some I should say, not all. We have some very good officers in rank and file who do an excellent job, and I applaud you. Incidentally, though, however, Mr. Charlie Chief Beck, we need to continue to focus on our contributions from our contributors who donate on behalf of the public's interest, right? Public interest, right? However, it doesn't happen that way. So I vote no. I say give the Dodgers back their donation, and I suggest that all of us in the audience will donate on behalf of this program. Thank you.
Mr. Herman, do you have a comment on item 1D?
Relative to the monetary donation of $1,000 for the benefit of Van Nuys Area Cadet Program.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now that we got the order of sticking to the topic, because not all of us are paid players on this June 27, 2016 relative monetary donation in the amount of $100,000 for Mr. John Nagay? Is it Nagay or Nagai? It looks Nagai. Let's say Nagai. I wish someone would correct me on my English. Batman has been to Dallas about a month ago and usually has that southern accent.
That's off topic, sir.
But going back on topic regarding Mr. John, N-A-G-Y, to utilize food and recreational activities. Such activities don't respond to the public's interest because we're uninvited or usually not invited. Incidentally, though, in Van Nuys, there's an area that needs food donations and recreational activities to suppress the harm brought by those individuals and comfort those who need monetary assistance and help by sponsored donations. I'd like to thank Mr. Spindler for the donation he gave to the LAPD. Wayne Spindler, shout out to you.
It's off
Thank you.
topic,
We're
Mr.
off
President.
topic. Okay.
Sir, you
That's
didn't allow me to-
That was your second warning, so you've forfeited your time on that item.
I
You have a
waited my
comment on item 1H, or are you willing to forfeit that time?
I'm
Relative
sorry,
to
what letter,
the
sir?
1H, relative to the donation of $3,000 from
Yes.
DLE.
Yeah, I'll speak on that. Why not? Why not? Department's report, strictly from this agenda here. Stay on the agenda, Batman. As I, the Dark Knight, relative to the mandatory donation and the amount of $300,000 for DLE equipment to be utilized for food and recreational activities for Southeast area. Cadets, wake up, please. Wake up, as set forth. Thank you.
Do you have a comment on item 1L?
Relative to the donation of valued at $5,000 from the Los Angeles Police Foundation.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Yes, L. As you all know, relative to the donation by the police orientation for preparation programs and seminars, no one pays attention to the 50 students valued for the $5,000 donation. Yes, we need $5,000 in addition to that from the Los Angeles Police Foundation to sponsor the seminar for 50 students for paying attention. Thank you. For the benefit of paying attention for these 50 students to obtain the benefit of training under Title II programs, service, and activities that benefit the public who are non-disabled and sometimes disabled participants in the activities of seminars dedicated to the 50 students for the $10,000 of the Los Angeles Police Foundation for the benefit of training division as set forth. PBC number 16/02338. For the record, Batman.
Do I have a motion to approve?
But, excuse me, we do have a comment card for 1X.
Yeah, let me get these
Okay.
out. Items 1A, B, C, D, H, and L.
Move approval.
Do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. 1X is the last one.
Yes, sir. We have Prentice Jenkins.
Do I have a motion to approve item 1X?
Approval of item 1X.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, we're now on item number 2, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Today, the Los Angeles Police Department mourns the loss of 5 Dallas police officers that were assassinated because they chose to serve. They chose a life of service, a life of protecting others. And for that reason alone, they were targeted. It is beyond sad. It is beyond wrong. You know, we, as a department, mourn their loss and recognize their sacrifice and feel for their families. Tonight,
What about my niece, Waukesha Wilson?
can I get a warrant?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, you're disrupting.
Tonight, I will fly to Washington, D.C.
Speak on that. What about my niece,
Ma'am,
Waukesha Wilson?
we've spoken on Waukesha Wilson many times.
For the killers. What about my niece, Waukesha Wilson?
Ma'am, this is
You shouldn't have been
your
sitting there
second and last
but you
warning.
should not ever say Waukesha Wilson.
Ma'am, I do not want to kick you out, but if you disrupt again, I'm going to have to kick you out, so
Well, let
please.
me say this.
No. If you have a comment, submit a card and you will have your time.
I did submit a court since he's talking
I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to leave. I'm asking you to leave.
With Snoop Dogg and everybody, so they can have weed smuggled, so they won't get arrested while driving with drugs and everything. Those are people you want to associate with and have meetings with. What about the families that you guys killed? What about that? I am Sheila Hines, Waukesha Wilson.
Ms. Hines, I'm sorry, but you have to leave the room.
I don't need to leave.
This was like her mama.
You're now disrupting. This is your first warning. If you disrupt again, you're going to be asked to leave too. Ms. Hines, I'm sorry, you have to leave the room. Yes, you do. If the room does not come to order, we're going to have to take a recess.
She has the right to her voice.
Everyone should have a seat. If everyone does not have a seat, I will be forced to call a recess.
Can you tell them to move so she can please stay, please? We'll sit down.
She cannot stay. Everyone needs to have a seat, or we are going to have to call a recess. No, I gave her multiple warnings.
Okay? We'll sit, she'll sit down.
Everybody needs to have a seat, and Ms. Hines needs to leave.
You sit there, don't say nothing. Get your officer's chief back. Please get your officer's chief back. Please get your officer's chief back. Please get all of your officers that are trailing her with their guns. And you guys killed her niece. Please get your officer's chief back. Please get your officer's chief back. You guys killed her niece. Please get her officer's chief back. You guys killed her niece. Please get your officer's
This is the last warning. If everyone that is standing does not have a seat, we're going to take a recess, and everyone is going to have to exit the room.
And you killed her niece. You killed his wife. You killed her niece. Please stop. We're not doing anything.
Okay, we're taking a recess. Officers, please clear the room.
Walk with her. Stop. Walk with her.
This is unjust. This is unjust.
We're gonna walk out. I'm leaving.
All of you are unjust.
Marcus, walking out. She's back. Thank you for showing who you
Say her name. Waukesha Wilson.
Now, Game and Snoop Dogg. I'm showing this around the world, to the country. I got so many followers that are watching y'all in Puerto Rico, and Cuba, and Costa Rica, and Iran, and Afghanistan. They watching what y'all doing. We leaving now, but I'm telling you, I got followers around the world. And this is wrong. Chief Beck, you're wrong. You're wrong. The community is watching. Community policing is off. It's not right, y'all. It's not right. Snoop Dogg and Game, please stop bamboozling our people. Look at all these officers. What happened to the police community? What happened to community policing? We're the community. We're the community. That's a family. Why do we gotta be the only ones that fight for the family? What happened to y'all? What happened to protect and serve? What happened to it? Brother, what happened to it? What happened to it?
You are all unjust.
Let it clear, then we'll start. What's that? No, I think we're good. Let me ask Carlos. You want to clear the whole room, or can he start with people sitting?
We need to get,
People okay?
yeah, we're going to get Sandra back. If we're-
Can you get Sandra back, please?
We're good.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Any further disruptions, I'll be forced to clear the entire room. Again, that is not something I want to do. But expect mutual respect in this room, and I will ensure that we have mutual respect in this room. And again, that means when the individuals up on this dais are speaking and it's their turn to speak, I will not tolerate disruptions, nor will I tolerate disruptions of people who have submitted speaker cards during their time at the podium. Chief Beck, I apologize for what just happened, and please continue on.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I was about to say that tonight I will be joining Mayor Eric Garcetti in a trip to Washington, D.C. to speak directly with President Obama regarding policing issues. I think it's important for the voice of Los Angeles to be heard. I think it's important to talk about our experience here. My message to the President is very simple, that we need to address this as an American issue. We need to address it as an issue beyond race. We need to address it as an issue of the American people. A number of things are very true. There is not enough empathy being displayed. There is too much partisanship and separatism on this discussion. We need to have a discussion, not a monologue, but a dialogue where there is as much listening on both sides as there is talking. That is.
Ma'am,
Can I get a warning?
you've disrupted this meeting many times. If you disrupt again, I'm going to ask you to go.
And of course, this is the problem, is that nobody wants to have a discussion. Everybody wants to demagogue. Everybody wants to put only their position forth and not hear from anybody else. And until you are willing to have a discussion, we will never make progress on this issue in America. And be assured, this is an issue about violence, not just about police violence, but violence in total. I'm going to read some crime statistics about my city, about Los Angeles, in a minute. Those crime statistics encapsulate the society that Los Angeles police officers have to police. And in a society that it has a much too high a propensity for violence, police get pulled into that, and sometimes they have to use violence. So far in the city of Los Angeles this year, we've had 136 homicides. That's down slightly from last year. 40% of those homicide victims are African American. 45% of those homicide victims are Latino. We've had 569 victims shot, not shot at, shot. Again, 40% of those victims are African American, 45% of the victims are Latino. Officer-involved shootings are down in the city of Los Angeles over 30% from last year and over 10% from our 5-year average. Los Angeles police officers are doing a better job at regulating themselves in the use of deadly force, in responding in a excuse me, I was interrupted. Are doing a much better job because of the training that we have given them, because the emphasis that this police commission and this chief have put on making sure that we respond to incidents of violence as non-violently as possible. But it is impossible to ignore the violence that we face. Los Angeles Police Department has confiscated more guns off the streets of Los Angeles this year than in any year of the prior 5 years. We face incidents of violence that are increasing, not decreasing. This is a discussion that America has to have. America has a violence problem, just as the city of Los Angeles has a violence problem. And until we address the root causes of that violence problem, we will not make progress on police use of force issues. We must see the problem as the whole problem and not just one piece of it. And it goes back in time, the roots of this problem. Not only that, but it is broad-based. It's based in inequalities, in education, in housing, in the economy, in many, many things, not just the criminal justice system. So that'll be my message to the president. He's heard me say it before. I appreciate the opportunity. I think Los Angeles has not only lessons to learn, but lessons to teach on this issue. At this point in the year, we see a total violent crime increase, mostly driven by lower-level aggravated assaults and non-armed robberies of about 16.3%. As I said, shooting victims are down in the city, as are homicide victims. Gang-related crime is up in total about 9.4%, driven by aggravated assaults committed on or upon gang members. Traffic collisions are up slightly in the city of Los Angeles, mostly a cause of more miles traveled by the motoring public. DUI-related, the driving under the influence-related traffic collisions are down 6.1%. Hit and runs are up about 6%, and bicycle-involved collisions and pedestrian-involved collisions are both down. We have 9,900 sworn personnel on payroll, and about 3,000 civilians. We have 7,861 cadets in our program, and as I promised Chief Pacer on his retirement, it is my intent to raise that program to 10,000. That's 10,000 young people, mostly from disadvantaged communities, that will benefit from their relationship with the Los Angeles Police Department. Again, the hearts and the souls of the Los Angeles Police Department go out to the men and women of the Dallas Police Department. It is a fine police department with a fine leader, and they certainly did not deserve what happened in Dallas last week. So thank you for listening to my comments, and that concludes them.
Thank you. Do we have any general comment on this item?
Yes, sir. We have 11 comment cards. The first 4, Paula Miner, Jasmine Kanik, Prentice Jenkins, Hamid Khan.
Paula Miner, Black Lives Matter.
Good morning.
We are also aware and saddened by the deaths in Louisiana, Minnesota, and Texas. Black Lives Matter does not condone murder, does not condone killing. In fact, our goal is to reduce killing, particularly the state-sanctioned murders, such as officer-involved shootings, the unexplainable in custody deaths. We watched you, Chief, as you met with those people who have never spoken out about the LA deaths, who have never raised concern about Waukesha Wilson, Keith Bursey, Riddell Jones, Brother Africa, and the list goes on and on. We heard the chief say on camera, do not compare LAPD to these smaller police forces. We're better, we're more sophisticated. Do not blame LAPD. But interestingly enough, Chief, you did not mention to your celebrity friends any of the deaths that LAPD is responsible for. And whatever the cause, whatever the investigation, the responsibility lies with LAPD. We know the reasons the deaths that occurred in the other states got so much publicity is because they were on video. And we also understand the deaths that occurred in LA of Waukesha and Keith were on video, but that video is controlled by you, Chief Beck. So we know that those deaths will not get the same kind of public attention, will not get the same kind of national concern because LAPD keeps it covered up. The chief appears to think building community trust consists of meeting with those who promote misogyny, disrespect of women, who promote illegal lifestyle, illegal activities, through their music and through their videos. Those are the people that the community is supposed to see as our leaders. I don't think so. He readily sat with them, but he could not sit with Waukesha Wilson's mother and her rep. So we continue to demand change and continue to say to this commission and the mayor, fire Chief Beck.
Thank you for your comment.
Begin the change.
Jasmine Kanik.
Good morning. I'm going to try to keep my comments to the agenda item so that I don't get arrested today. Chief Beck just spoke about the rising crime numbers and the amount of officers currently employed by the LAPD to deal with this surge in crime. Given the rising crime numbers and the available resources for deployment, I find it especially troubling that resources are being taken away from actual police work and are being used on the surveillance of people like myself, investigators with the IG's office, and on finding out who is talking to me. Crime is up. It makes no sense whatsoever for Chief Beck to be using officers to intimidate and follow me around, employees of the IG's office, other officers, or anyone else he suspects is talking to me. That isn't fighting crime. In fact, it may be just the opposite and be criminal in itself. It goes against everything the consent decree was about, and it is costing the city of Los Angeles millions of dollars, money that could be and probably should be spent on intervention programs and the prevention of crime. As I've said before, Chief Beck, your obsession with me is unhealthy. It is both sad and unhealthy. It is costing the city of Los Angeles millions of dollars, not to mention doing nothing to aid in the fight against crime in Los Angeles. In closing, stop worrying about who is talking to me and worry about why they are talking to me. That is what you really need to be concerned about.
Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. Board, Chief, morning. You talk about you wanted a dialogue, Chief, but you won't show us the video of Charlie Africa. No one's going to dialogue with you if you won't show us the video. If the cops were in the right, then, you know, then the cops were in the right. But we can't see the video. So no one's going to dialogue with you if you don't show your hand, we're not going to show our hand. Everybody's got to show their hands. That's what handshaking was about back in the 12th century. People would come up to you like this and say, how you doing? They say, I'm doing okay, and stab you. So a handshake was, how you doing? Now you can see the people's hands. So that's what handshaking was about. Listen, I want to give you a statistic. That bastard, Rudy Giuliani, made that comment about Black Lives Matter, okay? He's a racist. That's what Giuliani is, a freaking racist. In 2010, 25 cops were killed. In 2010, 25 white people killed cops, 35 black people killed cops. In 2011, 42 white people killed cops and only 13 black people killed cops. 2012, 16 black people killed cops, 30 white people killed cops. 2013, 11 black people killed cops, 15 white people killed cops. In 2014, 29 black people killed cops, 43 white people killed cops. For a total of, drum roll, black people killed 104 cops, white people killed 155. That means black people have a whole lot more respect than white people do for cops. Thank you.
Hamid Khan. And then the four following Mr. Khan are N. Minor, Mr. Herman, Melina Abdullah, and Eddie H.
Hamid Khan, so the chief of the most murderous police department in the country is not going to share those numbers. He's going to talk about and toot his horn about how they're preventing crime. How many people know that last year LAPD killed the most people in the country? 21. There were 1,145 people murdered by cops, which means every 7 hours and 41 minutes, somebody was killed by a cop in this country. This year, it's already reached 575 people who've been murdered by cops in this country. And guess which department leads the nation? LAPD. This man, who heads the most murderous police department, is not going to report that to Obama, would he? He wouldn't talk about that this department is the most militarized organization in the country. Wow. This is their big architecture of surveillance. He is not going to talk about this thing. Wow. That how they are monitoring our lives, both on an individual level through human assets and electronic intelligence. how people are being impacted, how under the name of national security and this whole facade, they are just engaging in racial profiling. He's not going to talk about it, would he? No. Because he's going to give us some more bullshit about community policing. Yeah. What is that community policing? Community policing is using stingrays. Community policing is using license plate readers. Community policing is using suspicious activity reporting. Community policing is using predictive policing. Community policing is using body cameras. Community policing is using DRTs. Community policing is using drones. And guess what? Dallas has used the MarkBot robot. Yeah. Now they're using bombs to come after us. Last year, North Dakota was the first state in the country that passed a law to weaponize police drones with non-lethal weapons. Tasers, rubber bullets. LAPD acquired 2 drones last year, which are sitting in Bustamante's office. He's not going to talk about this to the
Thank you for your comments.
He's just going to keep on lying and keep on bullshitting because that's what we are.
Thank you. The next speaker, N. Minor, followed by Mr. Herman.
Morning. You've heard about it. 40% African Americans, 45% Latinos. And what did Chief Beck say?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a social economic failure. That's the reason why people are being injured. It's social.
But the truth is, retaliation by LAPD, that, what do you call it, a threat management unit? What is up with this threat management unit? Why is it so important that we learn about it? How the tool is used to investigate people like yourselves who feel threatened and followed, and then they sneak into your yards and take your computers, and they say, oh, we're sorry to hear that, but when we come across your computers and your devices, we'll return them. Good thing. Good thing Batman is aware of this. Good thing the public here is aware of this. Good thing the public brought out a good point. So you see, when it comes to retaliation, Miss Clutchfield versus Los Angeles is an important issue of court case. How Chief Charlie Beck and the LAPD department has taken one of their own kind down. Read about it. Case court. And guess what, Mr. Matthew Johnson? When you were at the press conference, why were you so far away from the press conference on the Dallas issue? 5 officers down, and all due respect to their families, it's sorry concerned that it happened, but look what one man's done. He brought the attention to the world.
The next speaker, Melina Abdullah, followed by Eddie H. and Jasmine Abdullah.
So I just have to take a breath because I don't know if you know, but while you were out, one of the, I guess, consultants, I don't know what he's called, but someone who claimed to be an activist that is now working for the police said to the husband of Riddell Jones, and I quote, "I'm glad they killed her. I'm glad they killed her." And that throws me. It's very difficult for me to get into a composed public comment when such a lack of humanity is delivered by anyone. But what I will say, what I'm able to pull together, Charlie Beck, is that contrived show that you all put on the other day, trying to exclude women, exclude children, exclude queer folks and uplift a narrative that somehow rappers constitute black leadership, rappers who've never, not to take anything away from rappers who want to be involved, but rappers who have never been involved, who you've never seen here, somehow woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and came down to where you were just so happened to be graduating some cadets, and you and the mayor just so happened to have a free hour and a half to meet with them. We're not falling for that. Are we falling for that? No. Because we know that you're trying to divert what's happening. There are thousands upon thousands of people outside who demand something different, who demand that you be fired, Charlie Beck, because we understand that you lead the most murderous police force in the nation. And no matter what you say about wanting to have conversation, you only want fake, contrived conversations. You don't want to deliver the kind of transformation that we need to have real, safe communities. And Matt Johnson, it's your responsibility to hold this fraudulent, corrupt police chief accountable.
Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please.
Eddie H. Eddie H.
Order, please.
Eddie H., Los Angeles Community Action Network. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And in that spirit, I come before you today to say, as a community who've been in so much pain for so many years, this is not a new phenomenon. Since our induction into this country, we've been experiencing brutality at the hands of police. We say today that what we want for our communities shouldn't be diametrically opposite than what you are talking about right now, Chief Beck. Murder is murder. So the murder of our individuals, our African brothers and sisters in our community, is just important to us as it is to you. We talked today about you being heartbroken. We're heartbroken. An auntie of an individual that was killed in police custody. You guys had the audacity and the unmitigated gall while she's in pain to put her out. But you want us to believe that you're going to be a kinder, gentler police force. That's not riding with us. We're saying today no more, for our bodies do not belong to you to do what you want to do with them. Our bodies do not belong to you, Chief Beck, to continue the criminalization, the brutalization, and the assassinations that you continue to dwell upon us. We're saying no more, and we're saying enough is enough. We're saying today that we're going to be ever vigilant. We're going to be steadfast. We're going to be unmovable, and we're going to continue to grow our numbers in this movement that is going to abolish this system. We're not looking to reform it. We're looking to abolish it, for the system is the problem. A flawed foundation cannot have anything good that's built upon it, so the system must be abolished. And we're saying today, Chief Beck, you're going to be held accountable. And again, we're calling for you to be fired immediately.
Jasmine Abdullah. Followed by Anthony Rockwell and Najee Ali.
Chief Beck, when you started your report, only thing I heard was murder rate has went down. But yet you are putting more money, the commission is putting more money into the police. Why? Murder rates are going down. Why? Because black folks are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that whole black on black crime is out of the window. Secondly, that fake ass fraud shit you had right here with Snoop Dogg in the game. I'm gonna point them out because that was misogynistic. You excluding women because you know that we come here every Tuesday and look you in your face and tell you that you need to be fired. That we come here every Tuesday and we uplift the names of Riddell Jones. We uplift the names of Waukesha Wilson. We uplift the names of Keith Bursey. We uplift those names of Ezell Ford. And you're running from the truth. That's why we weren't invited to your little powwow with your boys, huh? We weren't invited to that. But just know this, that we everywhere and we coming. We're hyper vigilant and we're tired. If you didn't see all those thousands of people upon thousands of people that hit Inglewood streets, just know that we can get them here too. And we tired of your shit, Chief Beck. We tired of your shit, Bustamante. We're tired of your shit, Matthew Johnson. Enough is enough. And we are going to get justice. Riddell Jones' life matters. Ezell Ford life matters. Waukesha Wilson life matters. Phil Castillo life matters. Alton Sterling life matters. You guys have no regard for anybody's life. You guys are, isn't it Aren't you in America? You're innocent until proven guilty. You guys, they blew him up with a bomb. That's how much pressure. You guys don't want to preserve life. You guys don't want to find out the truth. You want to cover it up. You want to dig at it and cover it up and bury it. But you're not going to bury this truth. We're not letting you, Chief Beck. We're not going to let you. Look me in my eyes. We're not going to let you bury this truth. We're not going to let you, and I ain't scared. I ain't scared of your army. I ain't scared of your homies. Actually, your gang. And we know that you got all those black brothers out here to put them on gang foul. So we can't have our men standing beside us. I know your true intentions.
Thank you for
and
your
evil.
comments.
I know your intentions.
Call the next speaker,
I
please.
see your
Hey,
intentions.
Rockwell.
I see through you.
The next speaker, Anthony Rockwell.
I see through you.
Mr. Rockwell. Okay, the next speaker, Najee Ali.
I gave you multiple warnings. Thank you.
Did you call me? Did you call
Sir,
me?
sir.
I submitted.
Okay, we are going through the cards. If you
Your
submit
card
it-
is for number 4. Mr. Utsumi,
hold
your
on,
card
hold on
is
a
for
second.
public comment. Mr.
Jasmine.
Najee?
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Johnson, members of the commission, Chief Beck. My name is Najee Ali. As a longtime South Central LA activist, after seeing the killing of Alton Sterling on videotape, and I was very moved, very touched. So I would respectfully ask that you and the rest of the commission take a review of the policy of not allowing videotape to be shown to the public. So I'm hopeful that the commissioners will review that policy. Right now, we know Brendan Glenn, who was shot and killed by a LAPD officer, we read in the LA Times there was videotape of that shooting. So I'm just saying that I just think that the commission, the chief, the department would have more trust with the community, but also be more transparency if they review the policy and at least let videotape be given and shown to the public in cases of officer-involved shooting, in cases of serious allegations of misconduct by officers. So that's all I'm simply asking, is that the public deserves a right to see what happened in certain cases. So I'm asking officially that you review that policy. And then my closing to Chief Beck, members of the police department, at the end of the day, some people may not agree with you, but there are, many more people that do agree with you, and stand strong, stand vigilant, because at the end of the day, I don't care what they say. I have my opinion, and we support good officers that protect us every day.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, sir, and we have no other comments on this item. We're now on item number 3, regular agenda items. We have cards on A, C, and E.
A, B, and E.
A, C, and E.
A, C, and E. Do I have a, would anybody like to hear a report on items 3B or D? Can I have a motion to approve items 3B and D?
Move approval of items 3B and D.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's call the comment. We do not need a report on items 3A, C, or E, so just call the cards.
Okay. Is there a motion for F and G? Or
No, so do I have a motion on item 3F
Move approval of the 3F.
in a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so B, D, and F are done. I'd like to hear a report on item 3G. We do not need reports on items A, C, or E, so just call the cards on those items.
Okay. And on item number 3A, we have Prentice Jenkins and Mr. Herman.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. We're discussing juvenile justice crime prevention. But when I see all those protests out there, I see a lot of juveniles. And how are you going to prevent crime amongst those juveniles when they see cops murdering people? It's impossible to prevent that crime. When these juveniles, see what happens is you pissed off these juveniles. When you piss off young people, this place explodes. It exploded in 1775. They pissed off young people. You got to stop pissing off, the cops have got to stop pissing off young people. None of this happened in a vacuum. All this happened because 11 cops were shot to death because cops went out.
Mr. President, he's off topic. This is about a grant application.
Grant application? What?
This is a grant application regarding the funding for the Juvenile Justice Prevention Act. So if you have a comment on the grant proposal, we're happy to listen to it.
Grant proposals for juvenile justice crime prevention? You mean you're trying to get money for it? Is that what you're trying to do?
Correct.
Oh,
Another dipping into federal and state dollars on the interest of the public regarding Juvenile Justice Crime Prevention Act. Such a prevention act would usually eliminate the damage and harm brought about by those who use fundraising as a crime tool. See, crime tools can be used in prevention as long as they follow the acts of the law.
That's off topic, Mr. Herman.
Well, sir, I'm going based on the juvenile justice crime prevention. After all, I've sent information to DOJ regarding some of the issues of the Ralph M. Brown Act.
That's off topic, Mr. President.
That's your second warning. You forfeited your time on this item. Call the comments for items 3C, please. Well, do I have a motion to approve item 3A?
Move approval.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Call the comments for item 3C, please.
Prentice Jenkins. We also have a card for Prentice Jenkins for 3E.
Is this the only card on item 3C?
Yes,
And do we
sir.
only have one card on item 3E?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins, this is relative to the grant award for the fiscal year 2016-17 RMS Traffic Module Grant.
Oh, okay. Traffic Safety and Module Grant. In determining whether you're going to get a grant for traffic safety, first you have to do something about traffic safety, right? In order to get the grant. You have to, you actually have to show them that you're doing something about traffic safety. You're not really doing anything about traffic safety. You look at 7th and Bixel, people trying to get across the street, cars.
Again, this is relative to the grant request.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't get the grant request unless you show them that you're doing something about traffic safety. And I'm saying you're not doing anything about traffic safety. See how I worked that in there? Not as dumb as I look. So if you're not doing anything about traffic safety, how are you going to get a grant for traffic safety? Why would anyone give you a grant for traffic safety? You're allowing automobiles on 7th Street to block pedestrian walkways so they can get across the street, so the cars can get across the street so they won't get stuck on red lights. But if you're not doing anything about traffic safety, why would anybody give you money for traffic safety? And the question is, who's going to give you the money for traffic safety? I say that this city doesn't deserve money for traffic safety if it's not doing anything for traffic safety. I'm sure you would agree, President Johnson, wouldn't you? You can answer that, according to Brown Act 549557. You can answer that, you know. Wouldn't you agree that if you're not doing anything about traffic safety, you shouldn't receive money for traffic safety? Would you agree with that? Yes or no? It says you can answer. You don't have to stay silent. You can't answer that. Do you believe that this city is doing anything about traffic safety? Chief, do you think you're doing anything about traffic safety?
Of course we are.
Okay, look at Bixel down there.
You can stay for your comment on item 3E.
3E, what is that?
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Your time starts.
Vehicle pursuits, wow. This is police chases, huh? Wow, I see those all the time on TV. I think we need more police chases. Because those things are really interesting, and they're entertaining too. Yeah, you ever seen those police chases? Yeah, so we're gonna need more police chases. I suggest you provoke more people to run. You don't actually have to provoke Los Angeles to run. They just run anyway.
Mr. President, is off topic. This is about the administrative review and adjudication of vehicle pursuits.
That's your first warning,
Administrative
sir.
review and adjudication of vehicle pursuits. Well, let's review the administration and its adjudication of vehicle pursuits. I told you I'm not that dumb. I just don't say, look, I'll be here all week, folks. So let's take a look at that. Now, what administration is reviewing these vehicle pursuits? What's the name of the administration? Is it the police department? Which one is it?
It's the yes, it is the police department.
It is the police department. And when the police department reviews these administrations and adjudications, have they found that most of the accidents are the police fault? Have they found that most of the accidents are the people who are running's fault? What are the percentages of it being the cops' fault? Or
Read the report. It's available to the public.
What are you going to say online, huh?
It's online, and it's also back of the room, Mr. Jenkins, as you well know.
Oh, black man got to go to the back of the room again.
Do I have a motion to approve items 3C and 3E?
Move approval.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'd like a report on item 3G, please.
Item 3G, Department's report dated July 7, 2016, relative to the follow-up response to the restraining protective order audit presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President. Commander John Sherman from the Office of Operations.
Terry Carter, Records and Identification Division.
If I could just take a moment and give the commission an overview of the history of this. This was an audit from Audit Division a year or so ago. I believe Commander Peters addressed the board in February relative to some of the flaws that were identified in the audit relative to our restraining order processes that were occurring within the department. This is a follow-up report to let you know the status of where we're at. One of the things that we identified was that there was, although there were a number of protocol and procedures in place, there was not frankly, a good system or process flow for how we handled restraining orders. Over the last couple months, we have reviewed best practices within 4 of the commands that were handling the restraining orders very well, and we've developed a better protocol. That has been drafted up. And it is presently sitting with our Policies and Procedures Division, being reviewed by them through our Detective Bureau and the Office of Operations to be put into a special order for the Chief's review to be implemented as new policy. In addition to that, we are putting out through the Office of Operations, a notice that is more temporary in nature that will have a new form that will be given to the commands so they can more clearly articulate the status of the protective orders within each command. And one specific aspect is firearm protective orders on firearms. That was one of the items that was omitted in the previous audit.
When do you think the new procedures will be fully implemented?
Fully implemented, I would say it's going to take several months to get them processed through the special order process through our Policy and Procedures Division. The new form will be in effect within the next 30 days. But beyond that, we have met with the Area Records Managers Association in both February and then again at their July meeting, the 2 meetings that they've had. All of the 21 area records managers are fully aware of the audit. They have a copy of the audit, and they are aware of the problems that occurred. There are some systemic problems with data entry and the complexity of the process, which was identified during the audit, that we're trying to fix. They haven't been able to fix all of those, but they have made significant improvement. We just did a call around last week randomly to four divisions and have seen an improvement in their efforts. And then again at the July 7th ARMA Area Records Managers meeting, clearly the managers that were present were fully aware of this audit.
So when do you think we should do another follow-up audit just to make sure that we've solved this problem? 90 days, 120 days, end of the year?
I would recommend at the end of the year, sir. Ms. Carter hasn't spoken. There are some technology aspects also relative to creating a macro for the computer that will help the records clerks. That's in our another in ITB, and they're working on that piece. So the end of the year may be better. And I don't know if Ms. Carter wants to speak on a couple of those components.
Thank you, Commander. Last time we met, I had mentioned that Records and Identification Division had identified and created macros to make it easier for our internal employees to enter in information into Carpos. Those macros were just created by clerk typists within R&I. As an assistance, we sent that out to all the 21 geographic areas, made ourselves available to teach everybody how to load that onto their computers and how to use it. In the meantime, we want to formalize that, so that was the macros and everything that we had done was sent to ITB, requesting formalization by the real systems and program analysts. That process is in place right now. There is no timeline for a completion date on that project at this moment.
There's no timeline?
Not at this time.
What would you estimate?
I would also estimate by the end of the year.
Okay. So I just think we should just bring this back at the end of the year. Any other questions? Thank you. Do we have any comments on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the department's report?
Move approval of the item with instruction to return to the board by the end of the year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on item number 4, public comment period. We have 19 comment cards. The first 4, Kai Utsumi, JW, Catherine Boyd, and Najee Ali.
I made a mistake on the items because I'm hard of hearing, and some of the things you don't speak loud enough. We have come here week after week after week, voicing our concerns Tuesday after Tuesday for justice, for LAPD killing of unarmed black youth and many brown youth too. Isaiah Ford, Charlie Kuning, Africa, Lakeisha Wilson, many, many others. You have heard our appeals, our concerns of LAPD officers, murder of black and brown, unarmed youth. Isaiah Ford, Charlie Kuning, Africa, Lakeisha Wilson. We have asked over and over that this weekly police meeting be held in our communities away from LAPD so that more people can address their concerns of LAPD's misconduct and murder. Isaiah Ford, Charlie Kuning, Lakeisha Wilson, and many, many others. Muhammad Ali refused to serve in the U.S. military while he was heavyweight champion of the world. He brought a new method to boxing. It was very creative. He said, "No Vietnamese ever called me a nigger." Isaiah Ford, Charlie Africa, Lakeisha Wilson, and many, many others. Charlie Beck, the root cause of LAPD officers' murder of unarmed black and brown youth is police attitude of black and
Thank you for your comments,
youth
sir.
as subhuman things,
Thank you for
not
your
human
comments.
beings, equal to you. Better, they're human.
Thank Thank you.
Just like
Sir-
you are.
Sir, thank you
Why
for your
do you
comments.
look at them as objects,
Sir, please-
inferior objects?
Sir, please have a seat.
The next speaker, please, JW.
Isaiah Ford, Charlie Cuning, Lakeisha Africa, and many, many others.
I'm sure that we will get to you.
This is my second time here. First time was when Denzel Ford was murdered by the LAPD. And so I had to come out today to represent. I'm not a part of Black Lives Matters, but I sympathize with them. You may not recall what I said once before, but I'm say it again. I was born and raised in this city. I'm 60 years old now. I thank God for that. But when I was a youth, I was gang related, and the psyche I had to deal with dealing with other gangs, and then the biggest gang in LA. That's how you guys were viewed. In my opinion, I believe there are some good cops. I think the bad cops make it bad for the good cops. It's disgracing your department, in my opinion. I really think you need to revamp whatever needs to be spoken on when you speak to President Obama, and really include some type of engage in a conversation where you're actually going to revamp the department and change the way it is ran. I personally feel that we're at the tipping point, and you need to get all your influence that you possess, your power and authority, in terms of whatever your title represents, and put it to bear, and go and inform him. And all police departments nationwide need to come to a consensus that you need to change the way you operate, because it's going to get worse, not better.
Thank you for your comments.
Catherine Boyd, followed by Najee Ali, and then Prentice Jenkins.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Chief Beck. This is to you. I was here week before last to find out about trying to get a detective.
Move the mic a little bit closer, please. Sorry.
To find out about getting a detective. I went out to the congressman. I ran into him, Detective Ben Mehta, here. And he said that he would look it up for me. I saw him outside where the weapon was. That the police didn't look. I don't know. I seen Nyman here. Nyman sent the police to the man's house. The man lied to the police officer when he went over there, and nothing was done. So that's what I'm here for. I need an interview with the detective.
I understand that, ma'am, and we've had you interviewed by a detective many times.
So what should I do?
Well, sometimes you have to be satisfied with the results, even if you're not.
I
if you
can't.
don't
I
think they're
can't
just.
hear nothing you saying.
I don't know if we can help you, ma'am.
You don't know if you can help me.
That's correct.
Well, isn't this the police? But that's what I'm trying to find out. On what to do. You can't tell me anything what to do? Oh, nothing? So I understand what the problem the people are having, you know? The police are the only thing that a person has, really. You look up all the crimes, and if the person lied and I didn't get a proper interview and that they didn't they didn't look up a weapon that was involved?
Ma'am, you've been interviewed multiple times on this issue. We can't help you.
I never got interviewed.
Yes, you did.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. The next speaker, Najee Ali. Is Najee Ali here? Okay. Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. Several weeks ago, I stood here at this podium, and we were talking about whether the shootings were going to stop. And I told you, it was, I guess, San Bernardino, and I said the shootings aren't going to stop. Somebody's going to top that number. The guy at Virginia Tech killed 30. I said somebody's going to top his number. Sure enough, 50 got killed at the Pulse. Somebody's going to top that number. Shootings aren't going to stop. Then I told you, mentally unstable cops and firemen are going to kill their spouses. Sure enough, James Taylor, fireman, shot his wife in the head in front of his 6-year-old son. Mr. Jenkins right again. Then I stood here and told you they're going to start killing cops and firemen. And sure enough, 11 cops shot, 5 are dead. What do you know? A friend of mine called me a prophet. I said, I'm not a prophet, I'm just very observant. When you're dealing, you continue to talk about the culture of cops. I talk about the subculture of cops. Cops who are mentally ill, psychologically unstable, cops who are taking and antipsychotics, antidepressants. Those things change the chemical makeup of your brain. Firemen who are taking that. Cops flying over your house, hoping they see you with your junk out. Homosexual cops on the down low with wives and children that they continue to toss men up on the wall and grab their nuts. You know, Ice Cube sang about it. I don't know if you're a fag or what, searching a nigga down and grabbing his nuts. He made that song in 1988. I never heard that song.
The next 4 speakers, Jasmine Canick, Mr. Herman, Michelle Dumont, and Karen Helfman. Jasmine Canick, not present. Mr. Herman.
Commissioners, this is general public comment.
This is public comment.
Thank you. Regarding my walk through the park, fear of the dark, fear of the dark. Oh, I fear the dark. I have a constant fear that someone is always near. I have this fear. I fear the dark, I fear the dark, I fear the dark. Don't any of you fear the dark? Chief Charlie Beck, I have seen you with a phobia that sometimes always seems to be someone's watching you. The same have you done to all of us. You've been watching us. Fear of the dark, 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 fear of the dark. I have this constant fear that someone's always near. He's dark, he's big. He might be Batman, the Dark Knight. But the fear keeps going on and on. Fear of the night, fear of the night, fear of the night. I've got this fear of the night, fear of the night, fear of the night. When I'm the top police and I don't do what's right. On behalf of you, and all of you. Because I'm the chief of police. Yeehaw! Hey, y'all. Come down to the commission show and join all up and sign up, general public comment, because all those yahoos have something to say. The Trooper from Iron Maiden, Fear of the Dark. Listen to it, you all. Listen to it, you all. Wayne Spindler's arrest down the drain. Listen, you all. Listen, you all. The Red Chief for the record. Woo-hoo! He's walking the streets. He's walking the streets. Red Chief. Woo-hoo!
Thank you. Michelle Dumont.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, I'm almost 72 years old, and I've been a college professor for more than 40 years, just retired. And you know, I'm not intimidated by a lot, but this is an intimidating environment with all of these police officers surrounding us. This is not the kind of context that a public meeting where dialogue is going to take place should happen. And I've been here several times, and I haven't found it a very comfortable environment. But I'm going to try to say what I would like to say today. First, I want to start with Matt Johnson. You talked about two things this morning that hit a chord with me: respect and trust. Those are wonderful words. Talk is cheap. The people in this room, the people who are outside, the people who marched on Sunday, and I want to talk about that a little bit too, they want action. Respect is not just something you say to people. Respect is how you treat them. Trust is built through actions, not just through words. You have lost the respect and the trust of this community. And it's not just Black people, it's all of us. And more people would be here today if they didn't have to be at their jobs and earn a living for their families. We're asking, and we have come here repeatedly, to ask you to act. I would just want to use my last second to say the best thing the police did Sunday, they stayed away.
Karen Hilfman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I appreciated Matt Johnson this morning saying how hopeful he was. And I'm hopeful too that the commission will do the right thing. Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Riddell Jones, Ezell Ford, Charlie Africa, Waukesha Wilson, Keith Bursey, Brendan Glenn. There's a centuries-old epidemic of racial profiling in this country, and Los Angeles is no exception. These people were not isolated instances. None of them would be dead, and I guarantee it, if they were white. And this breaks my heart, but my heart, it's still beating. There's so many things that I could ask for you to do, and I'll just mention a couple of them. The new Jim Crow should be required reading for every police officer, member of the force, should be required reading at the academy. Meetings should be held in the community where people can attend. It's also heartbreaking this morning that the overflow room is being otherwise used when there were hundreds of people outside wanting to come in, thousands of people, and that too many seats were occupied by police. There are still people waiting outside to come in. And that the police officers who kill people in this city are held accountable.
Thank you. The next four speakers, James Porter, Melina Abdullah, Marcus Vaughn, and Jasmine Abdullah.
Good evening. My name is James Porter, and I'm a they would start shooting back. You didn't hear me. I hope you hear me now. Black Lives Matter, in the meantime, came here and voiced their opinion. You said they was loud, disrupting the meeting. But the main thing that you missed was that they was in pain. They was hurt. If they was in pain, the public is in pain. So that's what you should have seen in the first place. Now, it started. This is the beginning of what's about to come. There are about to be more shooting. If you don't find a solution right now, the only solution that's available is that you got to hold the police accountable for murder. Don't justify it and don't cover it up. Because if you keep on doing the same mistakes, this is going to get out of control. I'm warning you now, like I did before. Do you hear me now? I hope so. Thank you.
Melina Abdullah.
So I want to be really measured in what I'm going to say, because I think it's really important that you listen. And I don't know how to get through to you, Matt Johnson, especially so that you hear. We started off trying to have a dialogue when you first came on the commission, and you refused that. Then we got louder. You refused that. And so I'm going to go back to trying to be measured. And you can chuckle if you want. But the truth is, one, I think you have a problem with women, especially black women, because you constantly try and call meetings with the brothers and you don't want to listen to the sisters. But we have voices. You were birthed from a black woman, I believe, and so hopefully you'll have a little bit more respect. What I want to lift up is that we have families here, and it's really problematic that those families and elders are being mistreated under your watch. You need to really think about what legacy you want to leave for your children. Do you want to be on the wrong side of history, or do you want to say, I've been one who helped to usher in justice? So contriving these meetings, having these meetings with people like Snoop in the game, which I think is hugely problematic, speaks to where you stand, but you can correct that. There are thousands of people outside. We had upwards of 5,000, by some estimates, 10,000 folks who showed up for a meeting on Sunday. So it's not just the few of us who show up here every week. We're the few who can get out of our jobs for a little bit, right? But we speak for thousands of people, and we hope that you will listen. The family of Keith Bursey was stuck outside. I hope that you will allow them to speak during public comment, because they've just been seated. And I know item 4 is open, so I hope that you will do that and be respectful to those who are in mourning and who really need to have their voices heard. We do want dialogue. We want you to engage us as a collective and as a community, which is our way as African people. And you are an African person, whether you acknowledge it or not. Thank you.
Marcus Vaughn.
Good morning. I am Marcus Vaughn. I'm the husband of Riddell Jones, and I came here today just to inform you on the woman that you all murdered. Riddell Jones was one of the best people that I knew. When we met, I was very irresponsible. I was naive and inexperienced, and she taught me everything that I know now. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for her. She was my first everything, my first wife, my first partner in life, and you all stole her from me. Riddell was always the one who found a way so that we would make a way for each other. We lived in homeless shelters together. We lived in hotels together, and somehow we always found an apartment because of her intelligence and because of her knowing how to do things right when I didn't know because I was too inexperienced. Shortly before she was murdered, she was on her way to completing school for holistic health care, which honestly, she didn't really need school because she was already very, very intelligent. She learned how to build websites, utilize and build computer coding, and fix computer viruses all on her own through self-training. And that's the type of woman that you all stole from me and her and our children. I say all these things because it's important that she be remembered as the woman she was. She was kind, she was gentle, she always thought of others more than herself, which is why her kids, our children, cry every night because of your actions and your inactions. I say all these things because it's important that she be remembered as the woman she was and not as the woman you all have painted out in the press for her. It's important that she be remembered as a beautiful black woman who did not deserve the murder that she was given by police, by you all covering it up. She did not deserve to be sitting in a cold morgue for 2 weeks before any of us even knew that she was dead. And that's on you. Her blood is on all of you. My children's tears are on all of you. So I hope to God that you have many sleepless nights over what you did to my wife. I hope that you can never look your children in the eye for what you did to my wife. I hope that you can never look them in the eye and tell them what you do every day, because you don't have an honest job. You are all corrupt.
Thank you. The next floor. The next four speakers, Anthony Rockwell, Audrey George, Kwasi Nkrumah, and Alan Thomas. Anthony Rockwell, not present. Audrey George. Is Audrey George present? Okay.
Hello, I am
morning.
Audrey George. I am going to, it's okay with me that Chief Beck left, because I really wanted to address my comments to the Board of Police Commissioners. You, I understand, are charged with oversight of the LAPD. You are charged with oversight of a police department where the systems of law enforcement, the judiciary, and mass incarceration are essentially establishing a new Jim Crow. You are in charge of a police department that shows obvious and well-known patterns of racialized policing. This police department you have oversight over has the highest rate of police killings in this country and the use of deadly force, including those who are represented here by families such as Riddell Jones and Keith Bursey and Waukesha Wilson. As one of my friends had mentioned, The New Jim Crow is a book that you all should read, and if you've read it, you should read it again. The New Jim Crow could have been written last year or this year. It's so relevant. It talks about the militarization of our police forces, the increased funding for our police forces over other resources that could use it. It talks about the bogus war on drugs and how it was created to oppress Black people. It talks about the collusion between police and prosecutors. And it talks about the whittling away of Fourth Amendment rights against unlawful search and seizure. All of these are policies, practices that you are charged to oversee in the LAPD. Thank you. Please do your jobs.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Kwasi Nkrumah. I'm the co-chair of the Martin Luther King Coalition of Greater Los Angeles. I'm also a member of Black Lives Matters, and I'm a supporter of Black Lives Matters. The First Lady in Yellow really kind of summed up what I wanted to say, which is that, it's fine to talk, but talk is cheap. And to talk about dialogue doesn't mean much. I mean, that kind of discussion is often used as a manipulation to avoid resolving problems. The families of the police officers down in Texas are experiencing the same thing that the families of the victims of police violence and trigger happiness have been experiencing. And it's a terrible thing for anyone's family to be subjected to a family member being taken from them violently, whoever they are. However, you all are in a responsible position. You could be doing something to stop all this, and you have so far, from what I've seen. I don't come down here all the time, but every time I've come down here, I've seen a great disregard toward resolving these problems seriously. If the LAPD police were shooting each other at the level that they're shooting the community up, their families would be all over you about why you haven't been doing something to clean up that situation so that their family members are safe. If you give a damn about these police who work for you, deal with the problem and stop the rhetoric. Give a damn about the people in this community who are depending on you to exercise some authority over the police department, which is supposed to protect and serve. But everything I see on the walls around here is just lip service.
The next speaker, Alan Thomas. Alan Thomas, followed by Eddie H., Hamid Khan, Mary Williams, and Lisa Hines.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm a community organizer. I work with youth throughout South Los Angeles. And one day I was at home. I got a call from one of my youth, and they were screaming hysterically. And they happened to witness the murder of Riddell Jones. These kids, these youth, are traumatized. As an adult, I really don't know what to say to them because I'm just as traumatized and scared as they are. I have students that live in the J's where Riddell was murdered, watched her body lay there for hours before anyone came on the hot concrete on a hot summer LA day. What am I supposed to say to my youth? You know, Chief Beck was here. I guess he left. He talked about we need to get to the solution of the problem. I think one thing that we can do, the police can do, is actually stop dehumanizing folks. Stop dehumanizing black people in particular. Because that woman was left on the concrete like a dog. And it's directly linked to the chattel slavery that we experienced as enslaved Africans hundreds of years ago. It's just different now. What am I supposed to tell my youth? Have compassion. I've been here for hours. One of the first things you did was call out the names of those folks, those officers that were shot in Dallas. Unfortunate, yes it is. But why don't you have that same compassion for every person y'all murder in Los Angeles? What makes their lives more valuable? I'm asking questions. I'm not making demands. I want clarity. We need clarity. Our folks were traumatized. That's the last thing I'll say. As a grown man, every day I wake up in fear because I know this might be my last day. And that's probably everybody in the world. We don't know when we're going to die, but my situation as a black man is systemic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eddie H.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Williams, and I'm the grandmother of Keith Bursey. I'm so sorry that Chief Beck had to leave because I watched his conference on June 14th when he said Keith Bursey was a gang member. He said Keith Bursey was a suspect. I raised Keith Bursey because Keith Bursey's mother had an aneurysm when he was a kid. Keith was not raised as a gang member. If he's a gang member now, then he's a human being that the police rode up on. I saw the video. Rode up on, locked them in, got out, and when he got out of the car, because he had been shot on April 27, and when he got out, he went to run. They said he was armed. You know, all I'm asking, we have no police report. We don't know the officer. We don't have the surveillance. We don't know, we don't have an official autopsy report. Is that right? That's not right. But he can say he's a gang member. You know, he's a human being. He's my grandson who has been murdered by an officer that I don't even know who he is. We don't even know his name. I volunteered for 5 years with Crash in 1973 when they didn't have a place to meet up at a Methodist church. I got great respect, and I gave great respect to the police officers. I have a brother that worked for LAPD for 35 years. And I always respected them. And this is what I get. This is the thanks I get. I want answers. I want accountability. I want justice for my grandson. And I did say he will not, his death won't be in vain. Thank you.
Eddie H., Los Angeles Community Action Network, LA CAN.
You should know the strengths and the weaknesses of your adversary by their level of engagement. We've been coming week after week, month after month, year after year, and the level of engagement has not increased. As a matter of fact, it's decreased. So when you hear the righteous indignation of everyone here today, it has been fermented, it has been cultivated by you. We come in vain of the things that are happening in our community that continue to happen. And we stand in solidarity with the families of those individuals who have been murdered in cold blood. We stand in solidarity and letting them know that we are with you and you're not alone. For we will carry you if you need to be carried. We will lift you up if you might be down, and we will be there to the very end. To you, Matt Johnson, as my dear sister Marlene Abdullah stated, your very first day on the job was a very bad day because you came to us very unprepared. You came to us painting a picture of a very pristine police department, as if it was the best police department in the world. But those of us in the community that know the truth, we know that they were the very murderous, the number one murderous police department in the world. We understand that you are a puppet, my dear brother, and you've been used and you continue to be used. But the sad fact of the matter is, once they use you, they're going to discard you like a piece of trash. So you should stand up and say to this body that I'm different, to this body that I hear you, to this body that I would address your concerns. Other than that, we're going to continue to come at you. Now, this meeting you guys had on Friday, Black Lives Matter, LA Can, we've been trying to have a meeting with you for maybe a year now. And you've gone, said you would have the meeting, and you've changed your mind. This disregard, this disrespect is both egregious and reprehensible, and we say no more, no more, no more.
Hamid Khan. Hamid Khan and Lisa Hines.
Good morning. Can you guys just bear with me? I had oral surgery, so my speech might be a little bit off. But I want to address something. The husband of Riddell Jones and the grandmother of Keith Bursey, we all have three things in common. We all, the kids, the deceased, were all black. With Riddell Jones and Waukesha Wilson, my daughter, the husband didn't know she was dead. She laid in the morgue for 2 weeks. As like Waukesha, I didn't know she had died Easter Sunday. Had I not been calling, had it been 2 weeks before I found out? The only way I found out is because I was looking for my child. When you guys told me you didn't know where she was. Keith Bursey's grandmother, she wants surveillance cameras, the film, the video. She wants answers. She wants to talk to detectives. Ain't nobody reached out to her, just as nobody has reached out to me. What is going on? Matt Johnson, can you answer that? Please. My grandson was here 2 weeks ago. That child cries every day asking me about his mom. Why did the police kill her? Charlie Beck, he said that my daughter didn't have an altercation with an officer, and I clearly know that's a lie. What are you guys hiding? She hung herself. It should be a shut and closed case. But it's not. You know what? I'm in so much rage, but guess what? Because of the community, the public, I have so much energy to come here every week to look at you guys' faces, which I clearly don't want to, but I have no other choice to fight for my daughter. And Riddell Jones, yes. Keith Bursey, Sandra Bland, yes. And everybody else that you guys have murdered and will not be held accountable for. But like Charlie Beck, he said all of the police that died, he said their names.
Thank you, Ms.
Why
Hines.
haven't he said my daughter's name, Waukesha Wilson? None of you guys said it. Why haven't they said Keith Bursey, Riddell Jones, Sandra Bland?
Ma'am, thank you for your comments and thank you for coming down again.
Waukesha Wilson! Say my baby's name! Say my baby's name! Say his name!
Order right now.
Keith Bursey!
If I don't have order right now, I'm shutting the meeting down.
Thank you, sir. There are no other public comment cards on item number 4. We're now on item number 5. We have, on 5A, we have 9 comment cards. We have Prentice Jenkins, Mr. Herman, Wayne Spindler.
5A1, we have 9 comment cards?
Yes, sir. Well, they all just say 5.
Okay.
Prentice Jenkins, Mr. Herman, Wayne Spindler, Melina Abdullah, Marcus Vaughn. There are more.
5A, Claudia Araza. I guess that's the party that was killed. Involved party. Is this a date of occurrence? Is this one an officer-involved shooting?
This is a law enforcement related injury.
Oh, law enforcement related. Okay, I'll relinquish my time.
Thank you. Call the next speaker, please.
Melina Abdullah.
So when I spoke to the public comment, I didn't get to why these thousands of people are here today. We're here today because of the specific loss. Can I hold my time until the president is not talking to someone else? Can we do that? Can we pause my clock?
Pause the clock for a second, please.
Start it over. They did, they started it. Can you pause it? It's still going.
Just
Yeah.
pause it. We'll restart the clock. Just, we need a moment.
Okay.
Mr. Dooley, you've submitted a card. It doesn't have a Are you speaking on item 5A1, 2, or 3?
I didn't see which one is Riddell Jones.
That is item 5.2. So let's do 5A1 first, and we'll come back to you.
Okay.
So she will be on
So
2. Marcus Vaughn, are you speaking on 1 or 2? 2. Okay. And Mr. Herman? 1. You have a card on 2. And Paula Minor, are you speaking on 1 or 2? Or 3? She's speaking on 2. Okay. And Ajam Lee Johnson, 1, 2, or 3? 2. 2. Alonzo Akili? 2. And Camila? 2. Okay. We'll begin with Mr. Herman on 1.
Well, it's a dark night. It's unfortunate we have these incidents involving shootings, killings, significant harm to the public, and to those of you who have participated in today's morning event, my heart to all of you. But under this circumstance, under the involved party, we have an issue here, an issue that this commission has to come through or fall through, or let it go through the crack. Justice is for all. That's why I'm the most significant other in this big picture here, as Batman. Because Batman represents those whose incidents come before the public. to make it a point that public comment is very important when we talk about the lives that matter, those who die, whether or not it's an incident caused by accident or not. But because of such passion and compassion from the public, the outcry is my same sympathy of the devil, is that we look to see that this issue of public employee discipline doesn't go to another level. The dismissal, if appropriate, should take action. Action on behalf of everyone's comment. And to all of you out there in the next room over, don't forget, the dark night is with you.
And there are no other comments on this item. We're on 5.2, and we have 13 comment cards. We have Prentice Jenkins, Melina Abdullah, Mr. Herman, Wayne Spindler.
Prentice Jenkins, published the City Live newsletter, activist since 1991. That is a button of Riddell Jones. I've been wearing that for at least 6 months. Apparently her husband's here. Thank you, sir. I'm going to give her husband a hand for being here. Thank you. Thank you. See, this is the face of the devastation that LAPD has created. That's the aftermath. You know, these folks have, the people that they killed, they have relatives, man. That's what you forget. They actually have relatives. They have husbands and children, and Riddell Jones' children will never see her again because she's laying in the cemetery somewhere. And what did Riddell Jones actually do? Well, did she rob a bank? No. Did she wear a suicide vest to blow someone up? No. What was Riddell Jones actually doing to get shot to death? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That the woman was in an alleyway. She was shot to death in an alleyway, and they let her lay there in the hot sun. Can you imagine your relatives laying there in the hot sun dead? I can imagine. You can't imagine that. You see, I continue to talk about not the culture of cops, but the subculture of cops. There's a culture and subculture. The subculture is under that culture, and that culture is very dangerous. Even one of your own sheriff captains said, he said, we're police officers, we're flawed people. I looked up flawed. It said unstable and dangerous. Yeah, it actually said that. Shocked the hell out of me.
Melina Abdullah. Melina Abdullah, and then Mr. Herman.
So for 11 months to the day, we have been struggling to get some semblance of justice for Riddell Jones. And so we talked in broad terms so far, but we haven't talked about the specific murder of Riddell Jones. We heard from the beautiful voice of her husband, Marcus Vaughn, who traveled down here by bus last night, struggling to find child care for his 2 children because he's a single dad now, right? Who traveled down from the Bay Area. We want you, as you go into that room, we've been very calm today, even though emotions are very heavy for us. I'm a mother. I have 3 children. And very rarely do I speak from my heart space here because I try to not let that emotion, that pain that we're feeling take over, because I know that you all see that as a weakness. But it hurts us. I can't imagine what would happen as a single mother if I were stolen from my children. So, Matt Johnson, I'm asking you to find that you're a father. Find that within you, and as you go into that room, I don't know who else is a parent here. As you go into that room, think about what's happened. Think about the trauma that you've created. Think about the pain that these children are feeling, that this father is feeling, and move from that space. Don't just move from the space they want you to move from. Don't be a slave to the system. Be honest and true to your spirit. Hear that. Don't be afraid of it. Listen and enact justice. Come back with a just ruling that gives some semblance of hope to all of us, and especially the families.
Mr. Herman. Followed by the Red Chief, Marcus Vaughn, Paula Miner.
So here's a man without a mask now, and my deepest condolences to you. It's sad to hear the report as I sat back there listening to his story, and it's not a story. It's about life, life that matters. We're all a part of the formula that makes Los Angeles great, makes San Francisco great, makes every other country that's going through this discipline of bad policing. It needs to stop, Mr. Johnson. Stop putting your hands under the seat and start pushing buttons and make people listen. Black lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. Don't forget the 40%. Don't forget the 45%. But this gentleman here had a heartwarming call to you and to everyone listening. It was his loss. I can't feel that loss for him because my emotions are caught up in the world of seeing how dark it really is with LAPD, but only the bad cops, really the bad cops. And that goes for local government that doesn't step in to help the needs of someone who's hurt, wounded. It is Americans. We are Americans. Our skins are the same skins that fight the lions, Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force. We are Americans. Defend the right of the Constitution and protect us under the Bill of Rights, under the state law. Stop being hypocritical. Stop being unsympathetic. And let's stop the nonsense. Let's bring unity to us and to all of us as we all participate in the 54-950 to communicate. And thank you, Michael Hunt, for bringing law and order here. Now we can use the facility as our home. Thank you.
The Red Chief Hunt.
Thank you again, the Red Chief Hunt on the record. Matt Johnson, the people are calling on you. I've been calling on you for the last 6 months to come up with positive solutions for the African American community. This is not a game no more. Either we're gonna have to come up with positive solutions. There's a problem, there's a solution. These people, parents, and these people's loved ones are hurt. I don't need a corporate decision. I need you to come back with something different than that. Just like the judge came up with something different for Mitch O'Farrell. I put his lights out again in City Hall. I won for the 3rd time in civil court. A lot of these people don't have that. I have that. I'm asking you and I'm begging you, please, to come back with something different, because I do have a pen and I do have a pencil paper. I can settle this in court. And for a lot of these people, I know about litigation. So please come back for the people. We're your race. These other people don't represent us. This is all of our family. When they cry, I cry. You should be crying. You should really be crying, because if it was your child, you'd be up here just like us. If it was my child, I'd be wanting to put my foot in you guys' ass. And I'm just saying, if it was my child or if it was my family, my foot would still be in all of you guys' ass if you guys came back with the wrong decision. That's just my opinion. That's what the judge said. I have the right to make that opinion. People tried to shut me down. You can't shut me down. I'm a 3-time civil rights winner now. My legacy stands for itself. Make your legacy stand for all of us. Thank you.
Marcus Vaughn.
I didn't really get to, anyway, I didn't really get to say everything that I needed to say. At first, I wasn't even going to come here because, as I said before, it's difficult for me to find childcare now that I'm a single father and I don't have anyone to watch my kids anymore besides myself. Luckily, my mother and my sister came to the rescue because, like, honestly, I was really going to stay and be with my children. But you know what made me come? My son. My son cried to me, telling me that he wanted me, that he wanted me to be here today. So I am here to represent my children and to let all of you know that you should really look deep within yourself and try to find some semblance of justice, because I don't see any of it here. And all of you standing on the wall, you cops with guns, you guys think a gun in the hand means the world by the tail, and you really need to watch your fucking self, because all you're doing is killing people. That gun doesn't mean any type of power, it just means you a murderer. That's all. And all of you who would stand behind murderers and defend them, you are accomplice. You should be prosecuted like any other criminal. Because you took someone important from us. And it's not just me, it's not just about me here, it's about all the other families that you have destroyed with murder. I mean, how can you live with yourselves? I don't understand it. How can you live with yourselves? How can you sit back here, watch someone get murdered, and then hide behind the law? And how can you claim to defend it? All these fucking signs here is nothing but lies to me. How can you defend this idea of protecting and serving and law and order and justice when all you do is murder people? Anyway, I have nothing further to say, but you all, like I said before, you all are corrupt.
Paula Miner. Followed by Ajam Lee Johnson, Alonzo Akili, and Camila.
I too want to raise the name of Riddell Jones. I started regularly coming to these commission meetings in August 2015 after Riddell Jones was murdered. As I said then, and I can say right now, Riddell Jones was murdered in my neighborhood and at a place that I drive by nearly every single day, every time I leave my house. Her murder touched me because it was close to me. Since I've been coming to commission, there have been other officer-involved shootings that also have touched me and started to pile up. The emotions are just amazing. The emotions are amazing. I want to take my time now and ask that we have a moment of silence to think about Riddell Jones, to honor her, to think about her spirit. Say her name.
Riddell Jones.
Say her name.
Riddell Jones.
Say her name.
Riddell Jones.
The next speaker, Ajam Lee Johnson.
I am a 17-year-old boy that can stand up here and say I honestly don't know the definition of justice. I sit here and I could look through a dictionary, but it doesn't really tell me anything that's truthful. And I can see you guys that, stand behind here that really dictate the definition of justice. And they say the one who makes the definition indeed rules. And that's the power that you guys have today. I am a 17-year-old boy that has a target on his back. With a lot of families here who are victims of having a target on their back. And we sit here and we mourn, and you guys look down. Some of you guys ignore, because it's a story that you guys hear every day, because day by day, you kill another one of us. And you guys become numb to it. It's psychopathic. It doesn't make any sense, especially to us. That we couldn't go out and do this. But yet you guys have found anesthesia. You guys can sleep at night knowing that there are people mourning, knowing that there are people crying, that they just want justice. But this definition of justice doesn't really exist for the black community, doesn't really exist for the Mexican community, the Latino community, but it does exist for the white community. So I'm just asking, can you show us what justice is? Please.
Alonzo Keeley.
My name is Alonzo Hunt. I'm an 18-year-old student. Nothing I can say matches the pain and devastation that these families are feeling. Nothing I can say will ever match the pain and devastation that these families are feeling. The pain and devastation that spans back 400 years and that we still feel today. So I want to have another moment of silence for all the families and for all the victims of this murderous police state. And as you look down at your phone, Matt Johnson, I want you to know that you're complicit and that blood is on your hands. Blood is on your hands. It doesn't matter if you're a black man. Black faces in high places means nothing for us because you're complicit.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Order, please.
Yeah, the next speaker, Camila, followed by Regina Harris, Sylvia H., and April Collins.
Hello. So my name's Camila, and I was here before the big crowds when we were trying to demand justice for Waukesha Wilson. You all said that you did not know about her case, and you actually asked for us to spell her name for you. Now you all won't even say it. It's a shame. The way that you all have dealt with this issue, have dealt with the families of Riddell Jones, Keith Bursey, and countless others related to racial profiling is embarrassing, and you all should be ashamed of yourselves. What do we say is the duty of a cop? We say the duty of the cop is to enforce the law and to uphold the Constitution. Well, in the case of Riddell Jones, those 4 police officers did not uphold the Constitution, and they did not enforce the law. Cops are not supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. Her alleged crime did not warrant death. I'll say it again, her alleged crime did not warrant death. Therefore, you need to find these 4 police officers criminally responsible, and you need to dismiss them from the force and discipline them. Also, out of 1,356 complaints of police bias and racial profiling just last year alone, you all couldn't find any of those complaints to be legitimate? Not one? This shows that you all lack the political will and the compassion as an institution to hold members of LAPD accountable when they violate people's civil rights and human rights. We pay taxes here. Everyone that you all killed were people, human beings who deserve to live and deserve to see their day in court. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. And the only decision that you all need to make, and the right decision that you all need to make, is to find these 4 officers accountable for their actions, and we need to demand justice for all of the people, all of the fallen soldiers, all of our people who have been killed by LAPD. Shame on you all, and you all need to do the right thing.
Regina Harris.
I'm here today to support my cousin, Lisa Hines. Waukesha Wilson was my cousin. She was a family member to me, and she was very special to me. She helped me in times that I was going through things, and she opened her door to me, and I was living with her just before she actually passed. So when I found out that the police officer said that my cousin hung herself in jail, I knew that that was a fucking lie, because I have known her all her life, and never once, even through the stuff that our family has been through, there is no one in our family that would ever take their own lives. We are fighters. We have fought all our lives, and we are going to continue to fight. I'm going to fight for my cousin like I ain't never fought before. I have a son that I'm going to fight for like I ain't never fought before. Y'all raise money for these police officers because they got killed. Other people are getting killed too. Don't be biased. Raise money for everybody. Everybody's lives matter. Actually, we are a human race. You guys are sitting up here acting like you don't know what's going on. You have eyes. You can see. It's not being distorted. There's pictures, cameras. Everything is here for you to view. You're doing it because you don't want to. It's not because you can't. You just don't want to. You don't think that we have valid points, but there are pictures showing our points. And if that's not good enough, I don't understand. What will it take? What does it have to take to get you to understand that people are not going to back down? Officers are losing their lives too as a result. I don't want anybody to lose their life, because they were created for a purpose and a reason, and I want them to fulfill it, just like I want my children to fulfill it. So I'm going to fight until I can't fight anymore.
Sylvia H.
My name is Sylvia Hernandez, and this is my first time. I'm from LA Can, Los Angeles Community Action Network, and I chose this item because I saw it's an evaluation of the performance of your staff. You know, as an agency, I know you receive funds from federal, state, and local, and you are meant to serve the public, and you have to hear the demands of the people. And the demands of the people is to supervise the performance of your employees. And I'm demanding you to consider. I saw all the items, and you were saying yes, yes, yes. You were approving in all the items to promote more crime, to give more tools, to give more venues, to give more ways to keep murdering people. So as a board, I know you can make better decisions. Please, I invite you, all of you, even all the police officers here, to make a conscious, for first time, to think about moral disobedience. And I will ask you, especially you women on that board, to make a good decision. Stop funding the crimes against humanity. No more murders. Black Lives Matter.
April Collins.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to reiterate that Black lives do matter. Your corrupt officers murdered my family member Keith Bursey on June the 10th, like a dog in the street. Why? We'll wait. It's totally unacceptable. Where is the respect for the people, for the humans, for the mothers, for the fathers, the civilians, period? Where is the respect? Y'all supposed to protect and serve? You guys don't protect and serve. I did say protect and serve. You guys need a new motto because y'all are not protecting. You guys are not serving in any kind of way. I want to know also why the police force, do you guys get drug tested? Do you guys, are you guys sitting so high and looking low? You guys are untouchable? It's really sad. But I do know only God sit high and look low. Not the commissioners, not the chief, nor the police officers. Like the young man said, Keith Bursey, Riddell Jones, and the rest of the people you all murdered, their blood is on y'all. Y'all gonna have to answer to that. And we want justice. Justice will be served.
There are no other cards for 5A2. We have 2 cards for 5A3. We have Mr. Herman and Quasi Nkrumah. Mr. Herman? He's not here. Quasi Nkrumah?
Well, looks like I'm going first or last. You know, the United Nations has condemned U.S. policing practices and the institutional racism that underlies policing practices in the United States on 3 occasions at least in the past 4 years. A lot of people I've heard at these meetings talk about the origin of policing in the United States with the slave patrols during slavery, but we actually need to close the gap there a little bit because for 100 years, police forces in the United States were used to contain and suppress us and do the same things that are going on right now in our communities, wherever we were, to keep us in our place. And it was only because of the movements of the 60s that there was at least the appearance of some change. I mean, you know, for 100 years, if you were black or brown or yellow, you could not be hired as a policeman in the United States. In most parts of it, not just the South, the East, the West, and the North, just as much as the Deep South in this country. And the function of the police, particularly in the South, they were often infiltrated by the Ku Klux Klan, and that is how they operated. That is where Chief Parker recruited a lot of his folks for decades in Los Angeles, and that is the history of policing, community policing they call, in Los Angeles. And, you know, for all the black and brown faces that we now have on police forces throughout the United States, and to have so many of these killings to be at the hands of black and brown police officers even, indicates that we really have to have more than tokenistic responses to these problems. We need complete control over the police forces and the politicians that run them. And until we get that control, we cannot be satisfied.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. We have no other comment cards. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 5A1, 2, and 3 in accordance to Government Code 54957. The Board of Police Commissioners has concluded its work in closed session. We are back in open session. In closed session, item number 5A1 was discussed, and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 5A3 was continued, and I will turn it over item 5A2 to Mr. President.
So with respect to item 5A2, OIS number 067-15, the recommendations of the Chief of Police were adopted unanimously. With respect to tactics, administrative disapproval, 2 police officers 2. With respect to drawing, exhibiting a firearm, in policy, 2 police officers 2. With regard to lethal use of force, in policy, 1 police officer 2. With that, we are finished. We have a second. We are adjourned.